Welcome, and maybe welcome back if you came back. It seems to me that every story just about, probably every story, is packed with stuff. Like this one is so packed. I love it. And you read it, it's a cool story. Every Bible story is very cool and has such unique, interesting stuff. But then it goes deep. I'm always saying that. It's like you read this part right here, and then you go, okay, and you go into it more and more, you learn more and more, and it goes deeper and deeper and deeper, deeper, deeper. So this is a really cool thing. Jesus is so awesome. And his reactions, his responses, his teachings, his love, his compassion, wisdom, packed. All right, let's get into it. Are you ready? Here we go. So what we just saw is a really quick recap. He's on the lake again. He's on that sea with this group right here, this pack of men here. Jesus is amazing and so patient with them. He's so patient with me. If you only knew. Seriously patient. I love it. I have seen that's one of the greatest qualities of God that I've seen. He's extremely patient. All right, but anyway, so he came from this area, came up here, and and Mark is the only guy that said, as I said before, Damanuta. Okay, right here. So we don't know exactly where that is. It could be maybe here in this area. It did talk about, like I said in Matthew, the coasts of Magdala. All right, so somewhere here. Then he comes over here, meets up with the Pharisees, and this is when they asked for a sign. He sighed deeply. And then he told them, no sign's going to be given, and he's gone. So think about the apostles, how that felt. We're missing a lot of details, but we get enough to make it really good. So in the Bible, but it comes here. How long did it say? I don't know. Maybe it was literally that same day. Maybe he came over, and here they are again, opposing him, talking to him, questioning him, challenging him. And then he said, let's get out of here. So it goes boing, boing, just like that. Could have been that fast, literally. Okay. It's really interesting. So he comes in, and they challenge, and he goes, wow, you guys, I'm wasting my time. So that's why he left abruptly. We're out of here. Disciples went, they got in, and they didn't really have time or whatever, or they forgot. Maybe they left some of the food there, or maybe they just didn't have time to go buy some real quick. Nobody bought any food. They only have one loaf of bread. Now, you think loaf is like this, but really it's a small pita-sized, like a small lunch for one. That's how much, one person. And there's 13 of them. Like, whoa. So they got in here, and that's part of the story in here. And he heads up this way. So it goes boing, boing, like that. He heads up to Bethsaida. Okay, right there. So there's your kind of route that we're on in our journey in with the journey of Jesus and his travels. And so here's what happened. You ready? And he left them, and entering the ship again, departed to the other side. So he's going up there. Now, the disciples had forgotten to take, like I said, they had forgotten to take bread. Or actually, I said they may not have had time, but really they forgot to take bread. Maybe they could have gotten it real quick, or I don't know. It says, and then they didn't have any of the ship with them, more than just that one loaf. There it is. And then he charged them, saying, now this is the thing. He says this, ready? Says, be careful, watch out. A warning to obey, is what he's saying here. Take heed, like, beware of the leaven of the Pharisees and Herod. What? It says, beware of the leaven of the Pharisees and of the leaven of heaven. Herod, leaven of heaven, it rhymes. Leaven. All right, so, and they reasoned among themselves, saying, it is because we have no bread. They thought he was talking about, leaven, bread, they go together. Now, you know what leaven is? It's this, by the way, leaven is a little different than yeast, although some of the translations do the yeast. It's this stuff that is like it's a stuff that makes dough rise, like bread. And what they usually do, I think, in my studies, and if I can remember, I don't remember all my notes here, but they take the stuff from the other bread and let it ferment, like get putrefaction, is like decaying, And then you put that into the new bread, and that's what causes us a rise. Okay. Yeast, by the way, is more of an English word and more of a modern thing, like yeast for baking and things like that. Women, maybe men, buy some of that. That's different than that. So literally, it's not the technical term. It's leaven. Now, here's what happened. Jesus said, beware of that, the leaven of the Pharisees. And then he says, Herod Antipas? They're totally opposites. Like, they didn't like each other. Pharisees could not stand Herod Antipas. He's ruling over their nation, their country. And so what's similar to the leaven? Maybe it doesn't have to be similar. It doesn't have to be exact same thing. Leaven of the Pharisees is not the same leaven of the Herod. Just beware of both. He did say both. By the way, in Matthew, he adds Sadducees. So now we have Pharisees, Herod, and Sadducees. Okay, so what is he saying? Well, first of all, just right off the bat, Jesus always taking something physical, and then he uses it to show something spiritual and visible. Like for anything, you name anything. God is our Father, and so what we have here, we have fathers and mothers and children, okay, family, and we're family of God. Another one is like shepherd and sheep. He calls us sheep in the Bible. I guess I could say we're bad. I'm sorry. But anyway, like sheep is a picture of us and that we need a shepherd. We need Jesus, absolutely. By the way, sheep desperately need shepherds. Vine, branches, just a lot of different, a builder. I'm keep going on and on. There's like we're parts of a building, parts of a body, members of the body, etc. All these beautiful metaphors, pictures of Jesus and us and our relationship with him. All right, take something invisible. How are you going to describe it? Leaven. Now, leaven, most of the time in the Jewish understanding, was something corruptible, evil. It decays and it permeates and it influences. Leaven has power to make something rise and all. So usually in the Bible, let's see, I don't know how many times. I think I remember counting 11 or whatever. Something like, maybe not. But a bunch of times it's used, and almost every time. Now, some people believe that it's every time it's evil, every time it's corrupt. But I think there's a passage, the kingdom of heaven is like leaven, all right, in Matthew 13, for example. So I think that's good, but, different opinions. But most of the time it's evil. And it was basically, it came from, was it Exodus 12, how the leaven is taken out of the bread for the feasts of unleavened bread and the Passover and all that. It's kind of get rid of the evil, and Paul mentions it definitely in 1 Corinthians 5 and other places, a couple other places, one other place. Anyway, so it's evil. So, and this definitely, the Pharisees, Herod, and Sadducees, beware of what leaven is evil, something evil. Now, in Matthew, it describes it as the doctrine of the Pharisees and the Sadducees. Herod's not mentioned there. It's not mentioned in Luke either. Luke, by the way, talks about leaven being like the hypocrisy, the hypocritical feeling nature. So leaven can be used in different ways. All right, so with that in mind, I'll try and go quick. Let's go through this list of what it could be about Pharisees, the leaven of the Pharisees, Herod, and the Sadducees. Mark just happens to mention it too. Doesn't mean something's wrong or contradictory, just didn't mention all of them. Pharisees, Herod, as Sadducees, leaven. All right, so the word, by the way, the word leaven in Aramaic, which is what they're talking, it's the exact same word as like teaching or word of people, words of people, except for the last letter. But it's very similar sounding. The last letter is different, but it's very similar sounding. Okay, it's like a hominin. Okay, play on words. Maybe he's doing play on words. Exactly the same word, except the last letter that sounds very similar. And he's saying, be careful of the words of the Pharisees. So that word leaven, just of interest here, is actually he's using the same word that you would say of the doctrine and teachings and such. Now, here's what he's really saying, and this is guesswork. Exactly what he said. Mark did not explain what he said. Matthew did. He did say the Pharisees, scribes, about the doctrine, the teachings, okay, of them. But I think that what are the teachings? Why are they so bad? Well, some of it is that legal laws, rules, and oral tradition I've talked about a lot. But basically, how do we put these two together? Remember, Sadducees is mentioned in Matthew, not in this passage of Mark. So what is this? Well, both of them, their leaven could be, both of them are blinded to who Jesus was, his identity, and the kingdom of God. It's blinded to who Jesus was in the kingdom of God. Okay, so they couldn't see who Jesus was, the Pharisees and all, and Herod couldn't see who Jesus was. And they both didn't understand the kingdom of God. Herod was more about like control and power, over people and all that, but Pharisees were too, only it's a little bit not blatant. They're not trying to, they're supposedly humble people, but they weren't. And it's a subtle, like you can't see yeast in the dough, but it's permeating, it's going through. So it's an evil influence of corrupt power, and they wanted power. And they didn't like Jesus because he threatened their power and their influence on people. So the next one would be possibility is Pharisees and Herod wanted proof. That's a good one right there. Like they're into getting a sign, senses, and sensual stuff, physical. Meaning, remember, the Pharisees just asked for a sign. So as he's going on the boat away from him, he talks to him about, beware, by the way, he's still thinking about it, beware the leaven of the Pharisees. And Herod, because Herod thought that Jesus was maybe raised from the dead and was John, a reincarnation of John. But later, in Luke, Herod actually interrogates him and tries to get him in a court case. He met up with him finally, got to meet him, and he said, he did a court, and he said, show me a miracle, show me a sign. Pharisees were asking for it. So maybe that leaven is, be careful of that. Looking for some signs. Are you looking for signs like to prove that there's a God? Blessed are those, Jesus said, who has not seen yet believes. Faith. That's what it is. And they both had big time unbelief. Now, also, Herod had another problem, I believe, and he felt threatened possibly, just like his dad felt threatened, and he tried to kill him, Herod the Great, when he was a little kid, little baby. Pharisees and Herod wanted proof, signs. They wanted signs. And he said, be careful of looking for signs in your life. Next one is they both had an opposition of sorts to Jesus, especially the Pharisees. But their teaching was opposing, coming against Jesus. And they wanted to kill him over and over. Herod maybe have had threatening, there might have been harassment going on. That's not mentioned too much in the Gospels. But he kind of avoided them and went away when Herod was talking about Jesus, like who is he and all that, kind of threatened maybe. So there was fear possibly in him. So we have teachings from Pharisees and maybe the fear of Jesus, of becoming the king, or maybe, or threatening his position. Next one is basically it's subtle, corrupt power, like I just mentioned. It's a lot of influential stuff that's not good. So I hope you got something out of that. There's other possibilities there, but those are my favorite. I'm not sure which one it is. So it could have been a combination. Just be careful of people's teachings, false worldly aspirations. Like they're both in the physical, like give us a physical sign. Instead of trusting God, don't walk naturally, like walk supernaturally or spiritually, the invisible. Be spiritual. These guys were saying, he must be talking about bread. They're so natural. They're so right here preoccupied with what's happening physically around them. And Jesus went to a higher level, deeper level, and that's spiritually. And I love how he did that. But he did warn them of that. And I believe the warning went in there and it helped them, in my opinion, except for Judas Iscariot. But anyway, that they became believers later. But the good news is that you can be encouraged. They didn't get it. Over and over and over. They just didn't get it. And sometimes I don't get it. It takes me a long time. Maybe you feel like you're slow or something on Bible stuff. And hang in there. They hung in there. They got it. A lot of them wrote the Bible. And they went all over the world and preached the gospel. And so I love these guys. But it's encouraging to me that they blew it a lot. They didn't get it. And these are men. These are adults. So I love it. And Jesus chose this group and worked through them and loved them and patiently, talked to them. And he probably smiled a lot as he's saying, maybe a bit of rolling his eyes, like, really, guys? So I love it. All right, I guess that's it. We can continue rambling, but this is good stuff. Hope you got something out of it. God bless you.